So if you are somebody that has publicly demonstrated your support for Trump in any way over the last decade, you have probably had your share of verbal altercations with people from the left. And I think that, being on the right or somebody that just chose to vote for Trump because the left has become completely unhinged, you kind of have to live life on your toes at times, because you know that at any point, anything can trigger a liberal in the wild, and you can find yourself in the middle of an altercation that you didn't entirely expect, because you're just walking along minding your own business. And suddenly something that you said, that you did, that perhaps indicates that you don't completely support every single thing that they do, will send them into a frenzy, and they feel justified in letting you know that you are completely wrong and that you deserve to be attacked. So there is an incident that played out at a bar/jazz club at a location in the middle of Indianapolis over the weekend. And there is a group of people that went in there, and they were wearing a MAGA hats, and they are claiming that they were kicked out just for wearing something that shows that they voted for Trump. So we are going to look at the video that circulated on social media that made this situation go viral. And then I want to get your guys' opinions on it. If you think that these people were in the right, because believe it or not, there are people online that think that they were, that this bartender was in the right. And then, of course, there are people on the sane side of the issues who are not necessarily always aligned politically, but just have a speck of human decency that can look at this and say, yeah, that was completely unhinged. So you guys let me know what you think, and then we'll get into the reactions. And then we'll actually hear from somebody who posted a video, a much longer explanation of what really happened.
I have a question.
No, we're not answering
Why?
questions. Get out
Why?
of the bar.
Why?
Because you're a Trump supporter.
I know, but don't you guys want our money?
No, actually we don't. Get out of my bar right now. You're not welcome. I'm not around. Get out of my bar.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Out.
Because I'm wearing a Trump
Yes.
hat. That's wild.
I don't care. Get out.
We can call the police, or you can just leave.
You know this is discrimination, right?
Oh, boo-hoo! Get out of my bar.
So in the video, you can see that this bartender is just yelling at them to get out because they are Trump supporters. There's no mention of any other issue. They're just wearing MAGA hats, and that's enough to start with the screaming and the yelling. And then the man in the dress goes and grabs a bat, and these women are like, are you serious? And I do think that it's worth noting that only on the left would it become defensible for a man to pick up a bat as a threat against women and then label the man as the victim. But that's where we're at. So in the video, you can also hear another staff member that basically just says, well, you can either leave peacefully or we can get the police involved, which, I bet at this point they're glad that they didn't entirely defund the police, because now they can call law enforcement anytime they want to kick somebody out of their business that they disagree with politically. And then, of course, when the woman says, well, this is discrimination, everybody laughs, which I think indicates that the collective IQ of the entire group is probably barely above the point where they would be classified as human vegetables. So after all of this came to light and people started offering their opinions online, and probably, I'm sure that this business got a little bit of backlash because that really was unhinged behavior, the Chatterbox business released this statement online. It says, on Friday, March 14th, a group of individuals visited Chatterbox and intentionally misgendered and harassed a Chatterbox employee, resulting in them being asked to leave by our staff. Remember that statement for later. They then continued verbally assaulting our patrons and staff, threatened our establishment, and returned to record a video, which has now been posted on multiple social media platforms. The Chatterbox is home to a diverse group of staff and patrons. We do not tolerate dehumanizing or disrespectful language, unless they want to scream at you for wearing a MAGA hat, or symbolism in our establishment. We have a right by law to refuse service to anyone who disrupts our business. We look forward to continue being a home for people who love music and appreciate our community. Now, I personally can't think of any more dehumanizing language than verbally assaulting somebody just because they're wearing a hat that you don't like, because that is reducing them to a hat and not seeing them as an actual person. But As it turns out, people who have made these issues their hill to die on are often not the most reliable narrators on these situations. As always, they are the victim, and they often have to embellish what really happened in order to gain the sympathy that they constantly think they deserve. Which I just have to say, if people were as awful to you as a trans person as you guys consistently insist that we are, then you wouldn't have to lie. The truth would be bad enough. But as it turns out, the truth is never bad enough to fit the narrative that these people want to push, which is that they're constantly in danger and that they're constantly being attacked and assaulted. So they have to exaggerate to make their point believable. So they say that these people are verbally assaulting their patrons and staff, but it's directly contradicted by the fact that in the video, the person with the bat didn't say, you have to leave because you misgendered me, or you're being rude, or saying anything discriminatory. They just said, you have to leave because you're a Trump supporter. That was the only complaint that they made. But in the delusional world of the alphabet mafia, wearing a MAGA hat is, to them, a form of assaulting them. And of course, all of their supporters believe that. So when all of these people say that the trans community is among the most vulnerable and victimized in the country, it's because in most, like 99% of these instances where they have to even be in the presence of someone that they disagree with, they consider that a form of assault and being attacked. So that is why they can claim that that number is so high. But also saying that these people came back to record this video after being asked to leave, that was also incorrect. So this is the guy that posted the original video that went viral, and then he came back and posted a longer explanation of what played out, because the women that recorded the video were a part of a group that he was in. His video, this one in particular, is like 8 minutes long, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'll try to summarize some of it and then let him explain kind of, the gist of what happened in the most significant parts of this incident. But he's saying that they just went there to support a friend of theirs that was playing in the jazz band, and that they had been there before, that they knew who the owner was, that he had worn a MAGA hat in this establishment prior, and that nobody ever said anything to him. So these are all important factors that debunk the idea that these guys just showed up to cause a problem. They were there to support somebody that they knew, and also saying that they left and came back to continue being disruptive. So let's hear what he has to say about how things really played out.
Not putting nobody's names out there. A friend of mine, which is a jazz musician, last time I was here in January, he played there. This time he had buddies that was going to play there, so we were going to show love, and my boy was finna do a cameo. So when we went there, the owner, who was sitting at the door, just like he was last time when we went there in January, and I had my hat on and nobody said anything. This time I come in with other people and they also have a Trump hat on. And soon as we walked in, the bartender goes, "Get out of here, get that out of here." This is exactly what he said. So in reality, we didn't even know that he was even talking to us. So we was like, wait a minute, whoa. Are you serious? And he goes, yeah, you guys get out of here. So then the girl says, why? He goes, because you guys are a Trump supporter. And then he grabs a bat. I personally didn't see him grab the bat until I saw the video that she recorded. Because as I immediately went to the owner who was sitting at the door, and I said, how are you going to allow someone to act like this in your establishment? And you know that this could get you guys in some real big trouble. The owner looked at me, walked out the door, and act like he was a customer because he didn't think that I was going to know that he was the owner. And
So I think an important part of this, if what he's saying is true, that the owner was supposedly trying to pretend that he wasn't the owner, which to me says that he knows that this was discriminatory behavior. Because as a business owner, it's one thing if your employees are doing things that are not okay and not compliant with the law. And then you can deal with that as their employer and choose disciplinary action or to fire them or whatever. But if you as the owner are engaging in discriminatory practices yourself, then that means that this is a part of how your business operates. And that could mean bigger trouble for you.
remember him from January. So I said to him again, I know you're the owner and I know you acting like you're not the owner because of the situation. But because you acting like this, you have no clue who you're dealing with. So tonight, I'm going to make you famous. This is exactly what I said. On camera, you got the girl going back, like literally not even walking out. So that is a lie and it's not the truth that we was there earlier. We misgenderized the bartender and then we came back with cameras. First thing first, we don't move like that. Second, we was literally just going to social support to a jazz musician that we all love and all know, and we were just going to keep it pushing right after that. The guy got emotional because of the hats and lashed out, got a bat, made a threat. As we walked out, she went back in, did the recording, which is what everybody sees, and if you have not watched it, go watch it. We immediately left after that, and everybody that was sitting outside started saying, yo, bro, that was really messed up. Did they just act like that over the hat? Yo, I don't like the hat, but damn, that's not right. That's discrimination. Yo, you guys have a lawsuit.
So according to this person, that's how the situation played out. They walked in and immediately this person just completely lost their mind over the hat. Then the two women, as they kind of started to leave, went back and just tried to talk to this person and get it on camera. And they had no interest in having a conversation whatsoever. So they didn't even have time to misgender this individual or to verbally disrupt anybody in the establishment because they had less than 2 seconds of actually being in there before being screamed at. Because when it comes to how the left thinks based on their illogical and delusional way of thinking, they think that it is discriminatory to not let men into women's bathrooms, or that we don't want illegal gang members from other countries hanging out in our country. So because we are against those things and we stand up against those things, their belief is that we are discriminatory all the time. So these actions against us are justified. And this kind of reaction of what we saw from the bartender, the man in the dress, this is what happens when the media consistently aligns or equates a MAGA hat with a swastika, or says that anybody who wears this hat is just like wearing a KKK hood. And the intention behind painting these issues that way, painting this symbolism in that way, because they want their supporters to react this way to people on the right. Not because they actually believe it, but because they are intentionally trying to keep us divided and keep us from having conversations. Because the second we start having conversations with each other, we realize that we have far more in common than what divides us, and that we actually don't hate each other, that we actually still see each other as human beings, and that we can actually work through a lot of our issues and come to conclusions that work for everybody if we, again, are allowed to have dialogue and to continue to respect each other and not reduce each other to things like pride flags and MAGA hats. Anyway, that is all I have for you in this one. I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Do you feel like these people were justified? Do you think that this should be classified as discrimination? I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a private business. Obviously, they are allowed to serve or not serve whoever they want. But then again, I would love to have seen that same courtesy extended to Jack, owner of the Masterpiece Cake Shop in Colorado. I believe that's what it was called. And the 10-year-long legal battle that he was embroiled in because people intentionally chose to go after him and try to force him to do something that went against his beliefs. So I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. I would love it if you would subscribe and help me to grow this channel. I appreciate you guys being here. Keep it real, and I will see you in the next one.